I could express how frustrated we are that after 3 months of grilling you, after 3 months of questions and question periods and appearance before parliamentary committees, now at the 11th hour with a gun to your head, like 1 hour away from being found, being one of the few people in history of being found in contempt of Parliament, we finally find out who this phantom flunky is that signed the document. Now, when did you learn that she was the one who signed it? And why didn't you reveal that to avoid this tribunal today?
Mr. Chair, through you, let me say that I've come here today willing to cooperate and to provide.
When did you learn?
I have indicated
Minister, excuse me just 1 second. Sure. Mr. Martin, we'll keep
I'm not going to let her use up my 7 minutes regurgitating her.
I've stopped the clock while I'm making this dissertation to you. But I shared with the others before we started, and I know you were here yesterday, please try and go through the chair rather than arguing directly with witnesses.
All right.
It will look a lot better, it will work a lot better, and you'll get straighter answers.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, was Kairos ever discussed at any cabinet meeting or any subcommittee of cabinet? Was the funding of Kairos ever discussed at any cabinet meeting or any subcommittee of cabinet? Yes or no? I don't want cabinet confidences, just yes or no.
I'll be happy to gavel and let us settle down before we move on, but the minister is committed to 2 hours here today. I think there's lots of time for questions asked and questions answered, and let's make sure that. Mr. Martin, you will get this round plus others while the minister is here.
That's not the point,
I have
Mr.
a point
Chairman.
of order.
Mr. Chairman, could I speak to that? That is not the point. I'm very deliberately trying to keep my questions very short and very succinct. And rather than answer the question I put to her, she wants to talk about some other subject. With all due respect, she's the witness here, and she does not have the right to remain silent. She does not have the right to plead the fifth in this format. So when the question is put to her, she has to answer it.
Agreed, Mr. Martin, but we do not have the right to be rude nor to talk over top of each other. So let's attempt to, again, talk through the chair and try and keep it as fair as again. I have a point of order from Mr. Reid.
Mr. Martin doesn't have the right to override an answer before she's given it and then say you can't come back and answer a question I asked earlier because I've lost interest in it. He has to accept answers to questions, even if they aren't the ones he wanted to hear, before moving on to something else. And there's a real distinction.
But thank you for that, and let's try and keep that in mind. Mr. Martin, go.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask the minister, did she specifically tell Stephanie Mackle to insert the word "not" from her phone in her car when she was driving home to her riding that day? Yes or no?
Minister, on that one.
If I could answer that, I would say no, I did not specifically tell her to insert the word, and I did not tell her where to insert the word. I asked her to follow through on my decision, and the assumption is that she would use what was the normal practice at that time, indicating my decision, which I articulated to her. My direction to her was to follow through on that direction. If I could,
Minister.
Please,
no,
Mr.
thank
Chair.
you, Minister. Thank you for that answer. Then is it not? Could we not say then, when you testified before the committee prior to this, when you said you had no idea who inserted the word "not," would it not be reasonable to assume, if you specifically directed your chief of staff to not fund Kairos, that it was her who inserted the word "not"? Why didn't you say, I'm not sure who actually wrote "not," but I directed my chief of staff to cancel or to turn off the funding to Kairos? Well, that's not even a question. My question next. Question is, when did you learn about Jason Kenney's speech accusing Kairos of being anti-Semitic?
First of all, let me put on the record, Mr. Chair, through you, that assumptions of what my answers may or may not be before I've had an opportunity to give the answer. As I said, I'm here to give the facts and the truth.
Well, you've been
so
very
I would
helpful.
appreciate
When
an
did you
opportunity
through
to
the chair,
respond to the question.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
when
Martin?
did she learn about Jason Kenney's speech accusing Kairos of being anti-Semitic?
Okay,
If you have
that's
a date,
question that's been asked.
that's a question.
And the minister's attempting to answer it, and then you speak over top.
I don't need a monologue. There's two answers. Either give me the date or say, I don't know.
Well, I think when you take a minute to ask the question, I'm going to allow the minister a minute or so to answer
I
it.
didn't take a minute.
Well, you did. You went off on one thought and then went back.
It
but
only
that's a
takes
different
time
thing.
when I have to explain all my questions to you.
No, well, out of respect, Pat, if you're speaking over top of other people, we have to have them explained anyway. Minister, please.
I became aware of Minister Kenney's remarks that he made in Jerusalem through media reports of that speech. I had no knowledge of it.
Before
that
or
he
after?
was making. I
was
did
that
not have
before
any.
or after you denied the funding through the chair? Was that before or after you canceled the funding to Kairos?
My recollection that Minister Kenney made the speech in Jerusalem after the decision was made by me.
I have a question for Ms. Biggs. I have a question for Ms. Biggs through the chair. Do you believe that Kairos is an anti-Semitic organization?
Well, Chair, I don't think my opinions are
well,
what
I'm
matters.
asking you the question. You don't have the option. This is the thing, and perhaps through the chair, you could remind the witnesses that in this parliamentary Westminster Parliament, you do not have the right to remain silent. And the offsetting right is what you say can't be used against you. You have to answer the question. It's not optional.
But when you're asking the opinion of a witness, I think they do have the right to not offer the opinion. You are looking for facts, Mr. Martin. I think you can ask those. But when you're asking for opinion, I think you're beyond.
I have another question.
Well, you have about 14 seconds, so I'll let you have
Why did you not just return the document? You left the document for 2 months. Why didn't you just not sign it if you were trying to cancel the funding to Kairos? Surely that document for funding required your signature. You could have avoided all this controversy by letting it die, letting it gather dust, never deal with the damn thing.
Mr. Speaker, I think I responded to that question when it was posed to me by Mr. Paquette. I will again reiterate the facts in response to Mr. Martin's. They will not change because it is the truth. They are the facts. The request from CETA is to return in writing document to reflect the minister's decision. The common practice at that time, limited by the format that was used at that time, was to insert the word not or do not.
Your department, you have one screwed up department,
Mr.
believe
Chair,
me, because that's a terrible way to conduct business.
Mr. Martin, your time is well done. I'm allowing the minister to answer your last question, and we'll move on to the next questioner. Minister.